You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 403 of the Centralized Favorite Podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell, joined by executive video producer, audio engineer, coach to many kids, Mr. Zach Burcham.
Good evening.
And co-host tonight is Chase Peyton, but he ran away. He got camera shy, so he'll be back in a second. Going to be joined today by Tom Hohman, the president of the Indiana Parks Alliance, and John Goss, who is the Vice President of Advocacy for the same organization. Tom retired in 2012 from the Indiana DNR. He was there for 38 years and spent 16 years as their Director of the Division of Engineering. He's also the past president of the Indiana Native Plants Society. John Goss is the Vice President of Advocacy for the Indiana Parks Alliance. He also chairs the Hancock County Tourism Commission. Our neighboring county here, trying to steal those tourists away from Henry County, bring them over to Hancock. He served as the director of the Indiana DNR from 2001 to 2005 as an appointee of Governor O'Bannon. He also served as the director of tourism for the state of Indiana, chief of staff for Lieutenant Governor Frank O'Bannon, and district director for Congressman Frank McCloskey and deputy mayor of the city of Bloomington. He has his Master's of Public Health and his BA, which is his Bachelor's of something. Bachelor's of Administration? I don't know. He's shaking his head in economics from Indiana University. So with that, we're excited to have these guys here. Our goal today is to talk about our Indiana State Park system, how it's funded, gets a peek behind the curtain and to understand what it is. The state parks have been a passion project or a passion item of Zach's and myself, and I've drove Chase out to a few of them as well. We spent a lot of time fishing out at Summit Lake.
Not catching a lot.
No,
but
we go casting. So we wanted to hear kind of how the system works, and these guys are uniquely positioned in a way that they can tell us, both as former DNR employees and now as advocates for the organization, how that works. So that's the plan. Got to say thanks to some folks though that get us on the air every week. Chase, who are those people?
Jonathan Phillips, Wetzel Ford.
Over in Richmond?
Yep. Varsity Outfielders, Blake Reese.
Yep.
Thomas Oaks, Walnut Ridge RV.
Yep.
Jared keeps trying to sell me an RV. Maybe one day.
We're going to get you in one, and we're going to have you out there at Summit Lake with us.
Jared, is this Morrell or is it like you, Morrell?
It's Morrell Monument Cleaning.
Okay.
Right down there in Rushville. And Pop's Recycle as well. They'll get you your vintage Schwinn.
Ooh.
You need an old Chicago Schwinn, or maybe you've got one in the garage. Pop's Recycle down in Rush County. They can get it rehabbed or get you in one. So
that'd be pretty cool.
Either or.
Now, Jared, if you would have told me the president and VP was coming in tonight, I would have wore a collar. That was a last minute addition.
Chase,
I'm sorry.
Chase, you were told. You got a copy of the show notes.
Well,
you're
I opened them and I breezed through it while I was at a stoplight, and I saw IPA, and I was thinking alcohol.
I know what you're
beverages.
Yeah.
Chase is in the wrong meeting. Perfect. Did you bring some IPAs? I saw you brought in a satchel.
Yep.
Perfect.
I thought we were doing taste testing.
That's it. You can drink anything you want.
Okay.
They're all agricultural products. All right. So let's hear from Tom. You're the president of the group. So I guess you won an election or got tricked into it. How'd this go down?
Well, I was one of the people that started the group, and then when it came time to elect officers, they kind of looked at me and said, "Aren't you going to do it?" So here I am, and I might say that was in 2014, and it's lasted a little bit longer than what I thought. But I finally have my exit plan Another gentleman, Milt Grissom, is going to take over as president this November. So
That's fantastic. So we get you on your farewell tour.
yes,
Just
yes.
before the book deal comes out.
Yeah, I don't know about that book deal.
Well, when you have the book, come back through. We got a lot of authors
Okay.
that come through, and we talk them up too. And then John, you're the guy that do you go down to the State House and wear the suit and meet with legislators as the Vice President of Advocacy?
We do some. We definitely present testimony on the budget, and we meet with leadership people and try to inform them of what things they may not be picking up on that DNR really deserves the continued investment by the state, investment in conservation, investment in our state parks.
So you guys are advocating for state parks and all the DNR as well. So anything the DNR manages, if it's a state recreation area.
Parks Alliance is really just state parks and nature preserves, but we have a coalition of organizations that work together for funding all of DNR and for conservation funding in general.
So starting just at like a 10,000 foot view, I know that if I'm a taxpayer in Indiana, so obviously there's probably some of my general revenue that's going into fund state parks, but I also buy an annual entrance pass, or you get charged $7 to go in. If you've got an Indiana license plate, you're paying $75 a weekend for a state park campground pass. How is that money? Are those user fees really the core of what's paying for the parks, or is it the general fund revenue? Like what part of their world comes from user fees versus, hey, it's a taxpayer thing and they're going to be there no matter what?
Let Tom take it for a second.
Well, I would say if you're as a taxpayer, you'd be surprised how little of your tax money actually goes into the state parks. Because when you pay that, you go into the park and pay that entrance fee, or you camp in the campground and pay that fee and other fees in the parks too. That money stays in state parks, not necessarily that particular park you're at, but it's called a dedicated fund that's just strictly state parks. And there's two kinds of expenses or funds. That's called the operating fund and construction fund. So take construction fund out of it. That's just what it sounds like, roads, buildings, and everything in the park. But just to operate the parks, that right now is about 85 to 90% of those operating costs are paid by those users of the parks. And if you look at the last budget, so their budget that's passed by the legislature, they break it down into the amount of money that comes from their dedicated fund, the user fees, and amount comes from the general fund, which is general taxes. And if you look at that, the amount they get from the general fund and the population of the state, it comes out to 50 cents per Hoosier for that you pay on an annual basis of your tax money that goes into the operating fund. The rest of that is from user fees.
So from your income tax or from your, I guess your
sales tax. Yeah, a lot of sales tax.
The general fund's 50 cents per Hoosier is what you're essentially paying.
Yeah.
And then if you're using it, then obviously you're putting a lot more money into the system.
And then
you and I are putting in, there's commas in the number of money, the amount of money.
Some years I think they're not coming. Yeah. I try. I buy all that firewood.
You might be at top of the leaderboard, Jer.
We spend a lot of time out there hanging out in the parks.
And then any construction projects come from the tax money too. That would be the sales tax and the income tax and everything.
So we picked up a new governor this year, and in the park user community, we've heard a lot of chatter from folks saying, hey, maintenance isn't quite what it was in previous years. Things aren't getting mowed. This area out at Starve Hollow or Summit Lake is just not going to get cut this year. They're intentionally only going to cut right around a campsite. We're not going to take care of that. And I thought, okay, that's weird. And then we heard this story that the state parks were not going to be printing maps this year, or after this year. This is the last year you're going to get a map in a park. And I thought, well, this is a darn near a safety issue to me, because they're like, oh, you can have it downloaded on your phone. And I said, well, I know I've been to Spring Mill, and my cell phone doesn't work real well out of Spring Mill.
That is correct.
I know I've been to Shakamak hiking, and I picked up, I was on a bachelor party walking around with a Coke with something in it, and I picked up my cell phone and I started taking a walk without a park map. And I got about halfway around Shakamak, and I said, I really wish I had a map right now. I couldn't download it on a cell phone. So I thought I wanted to bring in some guys that understand how the system works and try to figure out if there really is a dire situation with the parks where they don't have enough money, if So I went to Googling, and that's how I found you guys. So I wanted to hear from you, I guess. Have there been major changes to this park's budgets in the last year that they didn't, did they take a major cut that we don't know about? Is it just an operational administrative choice? What's going on?
Really, in the background, there were some things. The dedicated fund balance was shrinking the last couple of years, and the state did not increase its share. And so therefore, this year they had about 1/3 less seasonal employees. So that meant people who cut grass, clean bathrooms, and do the basic park maintenance. Many park properties had only about half the crew they usually had. So that's what people were seeing this year.
Yeah. Well, and we were hearing reports from, I think, Prophetstown that they were basically closing down either the pool or the lazy river will be operational.
Yeah, like that pool kind of has two sides. There's a lazy river water slide section. And then, by the way, this pool is like, one, really nice, and two, very popular. Like lots of people are coming in from the community. And then the other half is like a splash pad / like an activity area. There's like basketball goals and stuff, but they're in the pool. And apparently they were shutting at times half of it down, which sounds like, okay, whatever. But that means that I think they're letting as many people in or quite close to normal. And it forces all of them onto one side. And if you've been there, sometimes it's hard to get a tube, and you're only supposed to have a tube to be in the lazy river. So it made it really congested. So, and that is a crown jewel summertime park. It is insanely difficult to get into that campground in the summertime because of that pool. So that was a bummer to read about, but yeah, so you hear about stuff like that.
So that's what triggered us or got us surprised. And that we amongst ourselves, we were brainstorming and thought, well, why haven't we heard a call to action to say, hey, we can maybe get some sponsorships, right? We can have maps. Then, man, I know that if you went to Mound State Park and you asked some of the local businesses that those tourists that come into the park, if you got a campground map that said, hey, this is brought to you by the Fudge Factory or by, Gene's Root Beer Stand or whatever, they're probably going to be willing to jump in. Here in Henry County at Summit Lake, the
1,000 Degree Pizza.
1,000 Degree Pizza.
1,000 Degree Pizza just by themselves
weekend.
And should pay for it. Yeah, because they're a hot spot on Facebook.
So that's where we thought, man, there's got to be a way or a way to save some of the park experience. That's what we wanted to hear from you guys. And I'm sure you've been working on some of these issues, but I don't know. But
well, first of all, we're really fortunate to have the state park system that we have. It's one of the best in the country, and taking care of it is a really important part of what we're working on. It's make sure that we don't lose what we have and make some improvements too. So in the situation with the money picture, probably we're going to need to look at some increased user fees as a short-term way to get the revenue so that we can have the summer employees to keep all the pools staffed, to mow the grass, clean the bathrooms, and everything else.
So you were DNR director 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
What was it to buy a state park pass 20 years ago?
Probably $5
for the year?
It was.
No.
Yeah, a state park pass,
not admission. A state park pass. Because I think it's like $75 for the year.
No, it was probably about $35.
Yeah.
Now it's $50 if you buy it.
Yeah, there's a Christmas bundle that they offer that I generally buy it
Christmas
in.
bundles are fire, by the way.
But $50 for annual pass right now, except the lucky people like myself that are retired 25.
Well, you've earned it, right? But that's an alarmingly low number. Honestly, there very well could be an increase, and I don't think you'd hear a whole lot of people complaining about it.
Right.
But is that solve it? I mean, I think user fees are exactly where it should be. If you're using the park and you want to have services, then all for it. But why does the DNR determine that? Does the General Assembly have to do it?
Fortunately, DNR Commission has the authority to change the fees. So they are looking at things right now, and probably for next year they're going to be moving on several. I think we're going to be talking with them about looking at the whole picture, so that we don't have to do this again in a year or two. So
right now, I know they are seriously looking at or I would say probably even planning to make some increases to fees for out-of-state users of the parks. And right now there is a slightly, I think most state parks have for just a one-day use, $7 for in-state, $9 out-of-state. And they're looking at increasing that out-of-state use, which 30% of the users of parks are from outside of Indiana.
I mean, if you get one of those fibs with those Bears fans that come over and use this Dune State Park, I think it ought to be $40 if you got an Illinois license plate.
Well, now it's already, I don't know what it is at Dunes, but it's more than other
higher.
parks. Yeah.
It is higher.
Because they historically have gotten such a large percentage. Yeah. You weren't the first one to come up with that idea, I would say.
30% of the users come from out of state, though.
Approximately, yeah.
I don't doubt that.
I mean, I've used Wisconsin, Michigan, Kentucky, and New York state parks, so I travel around too.
Yeah, and then like they're all Brown County is like a crown jewel park, I think. Period. In like the United States, it's a crown jewel state park, and then the Dunes has got to be widely popular. Turkey Run is like it'll hit. You don't have to look too far into like a list of parks to go hit anywhere in the country, and Turkey Run will hit it. Like I said, Prophetstown is. If you're a woods guy, Prophetstown's not your park. But if you like prairie, and that is a tremendous park. I love that. I went from Spring Mill to that park one time, back to back, and it was amazing. Like these are two state parks; they're not that far away from each other, but the vibe was very different. So, yeah, there's a lot of variety here to hit.
I might have missed this. Is there a place you can go to donate money?
Oh yes,
parks.
You can donate to Indiana Parks Alliance, and we have two things. We advocate for the parks, and we also fundraise to try to help out on that. Okay. And most of the parks also have local friends groups that also try to fundraise from local businesses and stuff and do volunteer things to help out with the parks. But if you want to help support what we do, just Google Indiana Parks Alliance, and you'll find our website. And there, we would love to have you anybody as a member or donating to. And then what we do with those funds primarily is we work with some of the local friends groups and donate to some of their projects to help them. And then we also have a program we're doing now called Trails for Tomorrow, trying to improve the trails because the trails have a lot of problems too. And that's how we originally got started, more on the problem with facilities, because when I retired, facilities were going downhill very fast. We could see it, and there was just no money. We were getting farther behind every year, and there was this huge backlog of deferred maintenance. And like John was saying earlier, we've always had one of the best state park systems in the country. We were one of the earliest ones, and was historically one of the best ones. And so it just made me sad to see that going downhill. And so that was what we tried to do, is let people know how bad it was. And we would go around taking pictures of things and just showing the pictures to legislators. This is what the public sees.
And over a couple of rounds in the budget, that strategy worked. We picked a number, $100 million that we needed to do and catch up with fixing up the parks properties, and we got that funded.
I assume that's bathrooms, shelter houses, update. There's a lot of really nice pit toilets now in the state park system.
Yes,
that's
part of our.
Do you miss the old historic ones?
That was part of our big upgrade.
Yeah. I've noticed it. I'll tell you that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the new shower houses. There are a lot of those that go in. I think they kind of come in. We figure out that some of them have been like swapped around, like for where they were supposed to go, because they would have.
I was at Wabash, and I think it had a totally different park name on it. I said, "Oh, this is they didn't want this at Shakamak. They wound up sending it up here to Wabash or whatever." Yeah. Settle that for me. How the hell do you pronounce that state park name?
It's Wabash.
I go Wabash, but up there I think they say Abachi.
Yeah.
Do they really?
Yes.
That's black squirrels. That's why I remember you go up to that park, and I'm not used to black squirrels, and you see them up there. But yeah. A lot of the buildings, shelters and stuff are like civilian conservation corps stuff from like back in the day. So like you think like some of the towers, and you're like, oh, the maintenance on those like built well when they were built, but yeah, they're aging quickly, and so.
If you like the history of the parks, they were literally, some of them were built by the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC.
You can tell, like, when you kind of learn what those buildings look like or what those shelters look like, you're like, oh, and you recognize them everywhere in a lot of those, especially the older parks, because they've been around for a while, but yeah.
And they've lasted a long time, but there is a limit no matter how well you're built, and then it's expensive to repair them. And that's what we've got a little bit now, too, is some of those kind of repair costs. I want to mention one thing, too, before I forget about, because you mentioned Provincetown several times. There are some really cool things going on up there that the Department of Natural Resources got a grant from the Lilly Foundation, $40 million grant, I think we're down to now. But among other, there's two main things that's going to happen with that money from that grant is they're going to build an interpretive center, and I'm not sure exactly what they're going to call it, but Native American center is going to tell the history of that site.
There's a lost village there, right?
Yes.
Or a town, essentially.
When I was director of engineering, I didn't know exactly where it was. Our archaeology division in DNR knew where it was, but they wouldn't tell me because I wasn't on that short list of need to know people. So it's there somewhere.
They have like a reconstruction of some of the buildings, and then there was a monument to the local tribes that's right near the river at one end of like the bike trail.
But the other thing I want to mention is they're going to double the size of that campground.
Yeah. It'll still be just as popular as it was, because it also is very popular with Purdue football fans in the fall.
They're going to go to dynamic pricing also. So on football weekends, you probably don't want to go.
Don't want to go there. Yeah.
Because the price is going to go way up.
If Purdue has another season like they did last year, it might not be that crowded on football season.
Yeah, you might be looking at Paintown.
Well,
jacking their prices for the IU football game.
The way the game works is that you have to book 6 months out, right? So you have to hope. You can be like Zach. He's going to Summit Lake this weekend. He got a last minute cancellation, but legitimately, if you want to park, Summit Lake State Park is full for the summer on the weekends, straight up full, and it's booked 4 to 5 months out solid. You're not getting in there unless you catch a cancellation last minute.
And by the way, for your listeners, since I'm jabbing at Purdue, I'm a Boilermaker myself. So,
but like if you're a camper, that is one of the nicest campgrounds, period, public or private, I've ever been to in my entire life, because it is as nice as any private campground. There are full hookups, which are very nice. The pads are nice, but it's spaced out like a state park campground. So if you want like private campground, like amenities and looks, like it's so nice, but you don't want to be crammed up on top of each other, Prophetstown is like unlike any other campground in it. And I've been to Tennessee and whatever. It's amazing, that campground. It's in, if you're a bicyclist or a runner, paved paths all through there. It's fantastic. They do some fun stuff in the fall, and the farm's great.
Do you remember what Tennessee charges for the campgrounds? I'm just curious. I don't know. For camping. You said you've been to Tennessee.
You've not done the state park.
I've done state park down there.
Oh, okay.
Kentucky was very similar to us. There was like in the 30 I'll have to check Tennessee. We go down like in the Gatlinburg kind of area, and then I want to hit a national park down there. But I'll check that while we're looking. I can look up there. Michigan's about the same as us too. Michigan's park entrance thing is a little bit different than ours.
Wisconsin, they made me buy a sticker and put it in my windshield.
That's what Michigan does.
And I had a brand new windshield. I had a little bit of a petty argument with the gate attendant in Wisconsin because I didn't want to put their silly sticker in my windshield forever.
Michigan one's still in line.
It's permanent. It's in there.
But you want to talk about differences of how people operate. In Michigan, your campground pass does not get you back into the park. So if you don't buy the sticker, they'll charge you if you go out to lunch and come back.
Correct.
And so you buy the sticker.
Indiana has it figured out. You pay your admission fee to get in. You paid for your campsite. You show your ticket. I think Indiana does it just fine. I'm excited to have you guys here, where you've retired from this. This is your careers, but you've stayed involved and you passionately care about it. Do you have parks that you like to go to yourselves now at this point, or you're most proud of, or things you've done at the parks?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, each one is unique. And if you really, for somebody out there, if you haven't been to a lot of the state parks, try to get to every one eventually, because each one is unique. I do have certain favorites. Turkey Run in the wintertime. In the summertime, it's too crowded. But in the wintertime, it is just beautiful with the snow and the crowds. And surprisingly, the crowds aren't there. And so it's fantastic. I love Provincetown. Because it's unique, so much different than the other parks, and you look at these great vistas, long vistas, and it just gives you a different sense than what you see in a typical wooded park. So right now, those two would be my favorites probably. But Turkey Run only in the winter. In the summer, I would go to Shades if I'm looking for the same thing.
Shades. There's no electricity in the campground.
Shades is a vibe.
I can run a generator, I suppose.
They don't have electricity?
There's no electricity.
Okay.
It's a primitive campsite.
They do have restrooms, though.
Really nice restaurant.
Well, Jerry, you don't have to be so high
Nice.
maintenance.
Listen, I'm a bit of a prima donna. I don't care about the bathrooms, though, 'cause I bring my own.
I went there once though. I had to, because like we do some boondocking. So I'm like, I got a solar panel, I got some batteries, I'm good. I roll in there and it rained all weekend long. But that's a nice campground. It's not super cut for RVs. So if you got a big sled or an RV, you might not want to take it in the back of it because they don't trim the trees back for RVs because it's a vibe. Those are tent campers. Those are hardcore hiking people that do not want to deal with Turkey Run's crowd.
Yes.
So I have camped or visited every park except for Turkey Run, Tippecanoe River, and Albana Woods. Those are the three on my list.
You haven't got to Turkey Run yet?
I've not made it to Turkey Run yet.
That's a crown.
We live on the eastern part of the state, right? And I'm generally a Friday to Sunday camper. I don't like to cross Indianapolis on a Friday night with a camper. So that's a tough sell for me to go west.
Especially with all the construction.
Exactly. Go back and listen to Patreon. Hear our complaints.
But we have the best roads in the country.
We do have U.S. News and World Report says that we have the best roads in all the land. I challenge them to. We'll take a ride across I-70 coast to coast from Illinois to Ohio, and tell me how somebody else possibly does it any better. I come back to Shakamak as being great. I like it. The lakes that are there, the improvements that have been made in that park. Shakamak's really cool.
I made Shakamak.
And it was a coal mine, right? It's coal fields.
A lot of those are coal pits. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, there's three dams there too that are the main thing with the lake, and it's historically been known as kind of a fishing park,
right,
more so than it is because of those lakes. But I assume the fishing's good. I've never done it there, but
I've casted in a lot of our lakes, but at fishing,
we do a lot of talking when we go fishing.
Okay,
catching.
Maybe a little beer drinking too.
A little beer drinking. I roll up the sleeves, get some sun.
Yeah.
Working out my arms, but not a lot of catching.
Yeah, we're just there to look.
It's more of an us thing. It's not really the park thing. It's just us.
Well,
I'm told they put walleye at Summit Lake, and I've yet to meet a walleye at Summit Lake, so I don't know. I don't know what I've done wrong, but they're in there. Can you do you know that they're there for sure, John?
I have never caught one there, and I kayak fish there, but I have never seen a walleye there.
I read the report. They stocked the little ones, but I'm not sure they didn't get in the water. I don't know what happened. Do you have a favorite? Or is it like picking a kid?
Probably, I would have to say Spring Mill historically. And just, I think it always was where our family went for a special week. We lived in very close to Brown County, so we camped in Brown County about 5 times or more a year. But Brown County is still incredible. So
it is
all seasons.
It's a gorgeous park. Tough to get into in the fall as well, right? That's another one that's just
oh yeah, definitely.
September, October, November at Brown. November's a little easier, but October is just as tough as it gets. Chase, you've been to a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
You like Chain of Lakes? You came up there with us. Did all the high kayaking all the way through.
Yeah, that was a good time.
You need a kayak conveyor system though. You got to have multiple vehicles to kayak the thing. You got to go back.
Yeah,
about a raccoon hat. I still have it somewhere. So
you should have worn it.
That was an impulse. I did.
He thought he was talking to the IPA people.
Yeah.
Here. It would have been awkward if he was wearing a raccoon hat.
But no, I've always had a good time at the parks.
So you think user fees are going to go up? That's an expectation.
Yeah, and I think even for people like you guys who are very familiar with the facilities, you know what it takes to keep things up.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to take care of what we have, and so we can keep enjoying it. And we're not likely to get tax money appropriated in the next 3 or 4 years. So if we're going to sit back 3 or 4 years and not fix anything, that's really a bad idea. So
it's necessary, right? And I've been on, I know your organization really cares about trails as well.
Yeah.
There's some of the really neat parks have terrain that requires stairs and steps and access and ways to get through.
Yeah.
Clifty Falls, I know I've been there when they've been rebuilding the trail system, the deck boards and whatnot. There's always maintenance costs. There's always things that need to be done. And totally makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot more maintenance involved in a park than most people would realize. And I was just thinking earlier today about that in terms of trees that are down. You get a storm that comes down, that a bad storm, and knocks trees down across trails and roads and stuff. They got a lot of trees in state parks, and obviously you got to get out there and get those removed right away. So just that it takes a lot of people to maintain things, keeping the restrooms clean. A lot of visitors maybe aren't the most tidy people, and it just takes normal maintenance that's got to be done. And if you don't have the people to do that work, you were mentioning lifeguards earlier, and the problem, the lifeguards were kind of given priority on when they had to cut back on the seasonal employees. They were said, you will keep the pools open. But one of the problems with the lifeguards is some properties don't have any trouble getting them and others do, because you have to have a license to be a lifeguard and you have to let people know ahead of time. That's what put them behind the 8 ball this year, because they weren't able to let people know ahead of time they were going to be hiring lifeguards. So then they had to quickly get hold of people and get the class and get licensed so they could hire them. And I would guess the problem you're talking about at Provincetown is they just have a problem on that end.
I think O'Bannon didn't even get their pool open I don't know if I confirmed that or not. And they have an aquatic center, I think, similar to Prophetstown, but I've never seen
somewhat.
it.
Yeah,
I've heard good things about it, but yeah. And the other thing is, how close do you have, like, usually it's high school kids that are doing lifeguarding, so you got to get them, and sometimes you might be recruiting them against the local city pools or whatever and stuff like that. And Prophetstown has a lot of lifeguards on duty at a time. They probably have 12 or 15 that are working at a time between running it and then being off. Like, they usually get a rotation when they're off and moving around, so.
I was just at Spring Mill a couple of days ago and talking to the manager down there, and they have a problem, like a lot of parks do too, that a lot of the lifeguards are college students. So most of theirs are going back. So this was the last week they'll be open during the week. After this week, it'll only be open on weekends, because most of their lifeguards went back to college and they hire them on weekends.
Has there been any appetite from legislatures to, I know that you get a lodge added to a park, and that's happening at Potato Creek, but campground expansion that's happening at Prophetstown. Since COVID, you've seen this massive boom where these parks are full almost constantly. And I know that they're a big tourism draw for, Henry County. It's hundreds of people are visiting this community every weekend because those parks are there. Madison County gets it with Mounds, and they're, if you're an hour from Indianapolis, there's this draw to stay here. You've got a beautiful place, then you can get to the city. Is there any talk or potential for future investment of adding more overnight facilities to any of these parks?
Those are very expensive. The Potato Creek Inn, Tom, what's the final construction?
I think about $100 million is the last I heard. Now, I would bet there's been some change orders that have probably raised that price, but that's what it's approximately cost. So yeah, to build a new inn, and that's the first new inn to be built
since 1939.
Yeah, I guess the Spring Mill Inn. Yeah.
So
now there's been some added to a little bit, but not a new one.
Hoover really did a good job, though.
They've done some remodeling because of some of them. Yeah,
right, and they've been able to bond and do some work on.
Well, that's what the one at Spring Mill had a lot of work done as part of that deferred maintenance money that they got. But I know some of the others still need work too. But campgrounds, they need to. Well, I'm going to talk about McCormick's Creek a little bit. Are you guys familiar with what happened at McCormick's Creek?
100%.
Yeah, the tornado went through there, wiped it out, just totally wiped it out. Unfortunately, 2 people killed. Lucky there weren't more. But anyway, they've got things cleared out, and basically they just had to rebuild from scratch. And so they want to build a whole brand new camp. Because there is a primitive campground that was not damaged, but it's in the back and you can't really get to it. So they had in the budget $27 million to rebuild it. And unfortunately, almost all capital projects got taken out of the budget and put in some big general fund that for the governor to administer as he becomes confident that funds are available. And so we're hoping that the funding for that campground will be one of the first ones that are approved, and we're advocating strongly for that. And the people in that area are too, because the town of Spencer certainly benefits from that economically. and they want that too. But yeah, we need more campgrounds and more campsites because you've talked about how busy they are.
Are the RV industry is based in Indiana, right? Right there at Potato Creek, essentially. And you've got a tremendous number of dealers, Camping World and Bish's and some others that have bought in, that are national organizations. Have any of those folks ever come to the table for investment and partnering for some of these groups?
Not on the investment side. They have, of course, they do lobby and they are involved politically. I think they have a lot of clout, and we're hoping in the next couple of years that they are going to speak up in favor of investing more in outdoor recreation.
Is their customer base are the users of these parks, right?
Yeah.
There's a symbiotic relationship where somebody buys one of their units.
Yeah.
They want to come to Summit Lake. They want to come to Shackamack. You pick your part.
And there's always people that are kind of bummed out. They buy a camper in like late September and like, hey, I want to go camping. And they figure out that finding a campsite in the state of Indiana in the month of October is one of the most difficult things to do. Right. Like, period. That's a 6-month game. Like, where all the people that know the game are like 12:01. It's April. It's game time. You're like booking campsites. So yeah, to have sites available is a good. Like, you don't want too many available, but to have enough capacity to deal with those people is good.
So I want to reward our listeners, Tom. What's the best lake to fish in the state park system? If they got this far into the show, where should they be going? Say a guy wants to catch a northern pike.
Well, yeah, it depends what you want to catch. But I mean, I mentioned earlier that Shackamack has always been known as a fisherman's park. I would imagine that some of those lakes at Chain of Lakes are pretty good fishing, but I really don't know for sure. John, do you know?
I can't name one that's an ideal in the state parks. I'd have to say I would rather go fishing at Patoka or Lake Monroe reservoirs.
Well,
which are part of the system,
right? That's true. The reservoirs,
just not thought of as
Patoka,
thought of as state parks.
Whitewater, then to go to Brookville.
Yeah, go to Brookville,
and
you can get your walleye there at Whitewater,
and I can get my walleye.
Yeah.
I've tried a lot of places, man. I brought my boat all the way up to what's the northeastern one? But starts with the
Pokagon.
Pokagon. Good luck finding the boat launch there.
There's
by the way,
only about one on Lake James.
The boat launch was a nightmare, man. You have to drive all the way across town, there's 7 places to park.
There's a lot of traffic as well.
That's one of the greatest people watching state park beaches in existence.
I brought my boat to the park, and I was like, I'm going to launch it here. I had to go 20 minutes away to drive back to the park in the boat.
It's like people ask
blame the DNR director.
There's
like 2001 to 2005 for my problem.
Sorry, we didn't get it.
Yeah, there are like 3 or 4 state park groups on Facebook, and I'm in all of them. And people always ask, like, what's the best state park wherever? I'm like, there's not a bad one. I haven't had a bad experience at a state park yet. They all have a different culture. The campgrounds have a different culture. The parks have a different culture. Pokagon, like, you bring up parking lot, I can think of whatever. Pokagon's is kind of interesting because a lot of state parks, that's the only thing on the lake. The lake is the state park, therefore there's not a lot going on around. Even like you mentioned Monroe, there's not a lot going on around like where Paintown is. Mm-hmm. Across the beach from Pokagon's beach there's a town there. Like, there's houses and stuff, and you're sitting there and there's boats ripping by, whatever. Killer people watching, just like, because there's not the state park across the way. It's a community. So that's a fun one. We sat there and just like watched boats go by like fools, burning gas, whatever it was, $6 a gallon, whatever it costs on a lake.
Sure, I don't know if we can do that one. He makes me back the boat in when we go together, and I get it, but it takes me. You're going to be making fun of me by the time it's in there.
You're not a boat ramp champ.
No, it's just nope. I'm working on it.
That's a great park, though. I used to go to Pokagon's in winter time. Like,
fantastic.
Go do the toboggan run.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you've done the toboggan run.
And if when we stayed in the inn back in the day, we tried to stay in the old part of the inn. And I remember when they built the new part, which is now like the middle new part, because like last time I went there, I didn't even recognize the entrance because the entrance is around the corner from where the entrance used to be.
If the wind blows from Michigan, and the wind blows from north to south, Pokagon smells really skunky now, though.
Oh, it doesn't. I forgot how far north it was.
Right out of Coldwater. It's all the billboards and extra tax dollars they're getting. There's a bad skunk problem at Pokagon now. I'm a little worried. Once again, I told you
That's great.
we're gonna have fun and we don't take ourselves too seriously,
Yeah.
John. You're going to Michigan this weekend, aren't you?
It's true. It'll be just like I'm there, Jer. Hey, some people like that smell. It might draw up other crowds there.
Very fair. You got a favorite park, Chase? Or a favorite lake in the system you've been to?
Well, I mean, probably Summit. Summit's the one we always go to. That's the one I'm most familiar with. Local.
Are the dams your problem too? Were they yours to worry about in your capital budgets?
Yes. Forget exactly how many dams we had, but it was I'm thinking about 60 or 70 dams overall, because a lot of the fish and wildlife areas have a lot of smaller lakes that are small dams on them. So the dams like Monroe Reservoir, those were not. That's our Corps of Engineer, right? So we didn't have dams like that. Ours were mostly smaller ones, primarily earth dams. But we had thanks to some pushing from our dam regulation people in their Division of Water, we got into really checking out our dams as far as safety and meeting current standards and stuff about 10 years before I retired, and did a lot of work on them to fix up some of the ones that were in worse shape. There's still some work needs to be done on them, but we got a lot of the worst ones fixed up, and keep my fingers crossed every time I hear a major storm that there's not a problem on them.
There's a big project at Lincoln going on right now, right?
Yes.
Lincoln State Park, the dam is the lake is missing right now.
And they had to there was a tree that was, I believe, grown from a seed that was in space that and they had to remove that tree because it was on the toe of the dam. So they've taken a graft from that tree and they're growing a new tree that they're going to replace from that graft so that it'll live on in memory somewhat.
How'd they plant the tree there?
It was a good
Lack
idea.
of foresight.
Yeah, good idea at the time.
Yeah,
the guy running DNR in 2001 said it was good. It was fine.
Probably the year.
They didn't ask the engineers.
Yeah, I mean, it's how many parks are there? It's a goofy question because I know some parks have come and gone. You don't get to claim Vinegar Mills anymore, right? It's Muscatatuck, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
32.
There's 32 state parks or DNR
32 properties within the state park system, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's some that don't even have campgrounds too, right? Falls of the Ohio River,
right?
White River State Park.
White River State Park is not in the state park system, even though it's called a state park.
It's independent.
Yeah.
Falls, you get Falls?
Falls is in.
I think Falls is the only one that doesn't have a
Fort Bend.
campground.
Yeah.
Oh, Fort Bend. You're right.
Got a golf
You're right.
cart.
Yeah.
Why in the hell is there a campground there either? That would be as busy.
You want to talk about a campground that would be absolutely, you could charge $75 a night and it'd be full all the time, is Fort Bend. Prime location for lots of stuff.
You pay for itself.
And there's some good running.
Profit center right there.
That park had its own half marathon. It might still have its own half marathon in the fall. I've run there.
There was a debate about that when we acquired it.
It's in the middle of town.
They decided not to.
They decided the campground wasn't going to be very large.
Right.
And to do all the facilities for a small campground, they decided not to do it. Too much.
And then the security would be a lot more expensive than in a more rural park too. They'd have to be.
You'd have to have the gate managed all 24/7, right?
Yeah. So they just decided not to.
Opportunities abound. All right. Well,
but at least we have a golf course there. A championship golf.
Yeah.
When was Fort Bend acquired? How long?
It was about 1990.
So I wonder now, like, if you think about, not to revisit, like, you have like RFID tags and stuff. You could give people a hang tag that had a little tag in it, and they could scan themselves in. It would kind of take care of the security part of it a little bit. One of those things. I have thought that though, like that, the 1990 things are a lot different than in terms of like tech that's available that can help secure. Because that would be a very urban park in terms of location.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love's Travel Center does it now, where you've got a code that's to you, and there's a gate. It's like a gated community. And
I came to one that wasn't even in a gate. It was just I was on the side of the parking lot. Yeah, sketchy.
What else have we forgotten? If folks want to learn more, if there's anything that we've not talked about.
Well, I think I mentioned once briefly, but I want to circle back to it and talk about a little bit more, I guess, would be the local friends groups, because they do about 2/3 of the parks have friends groups that are dedicated to that park. There's a Friends of McCormick's Creek, a Friends of Brown County. I don't believe Summit Lake has one, but they should. So if anybody is listening and has a favorite park, then check out the Google Friends of whatever their park that they like is, and chances are they'll pop up with a group like that.
Are there some projects that those groups have taken care of, or things that you can highlight and say, hey, this is Friends of Mountain State Park got this building saved or accomplished this? Things that you point to and say, hey, these are success stories.
Tom mentioned a few projects.
Each one is different and has a special friends. You mentioned Friends of Mounds. They've done a couple projects that we've helped fund to do work on the historic Brandenburg home, I think it's called there, on the property. Other properties have done, at McCormick's Creek, they've did a lot of things to help with the cleanup after the tornado and stuff. But each one is different. They kind of work with the local property manager. And a lot of times they'll do things. Sometimes this is going to come as a surprise. Sometimes the state is not the most efficient, quick entity to get something done. It's so small. And so sometimes the friends group will do something like that, that they really need some piece of equipment, and rather than go through this whole paperwork, they'll buy that equipment and donate it to them,
They need to run golf carts at Charlestown to take you down to Rose City, Rose Island. Rose Island. We're in the Rose City here. Rose Island. My God, if you walk that hill in July, you'll need
I have to come back walked out of there. Yes, and I was younger then, but they do have carts for those are with accessible issues, though, at Charlestown to get down.
Actually, every park is getting a one of those motorized wheelchairs.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So there will be accessibility at every state park property by the end of this year. Lilly has helped with that.
That's part of that Lilly grant that they got. Yeah. So that's one of the things, too. There's a lot of challenges for people in a wheelchair or with other disabilities. And, you're not going to, there are places in parks you're not going to get to. Obviously, you're not going to get down to climbing the trails at Turkey Run, say, or Clifty Falls. But they're making their best effort to get them to some representative samples of places like that. There's a project we had years ago for a ramp to get down to an observation point to see the Clifty Falls. And that's wheelchair accessible.
I've been there. It's a great, get you to an amazing spot and a great view right there.
Right.
And it's only maybe 200 feet from the parking lot.
Yeah. So obviously you've got to plan for that kind of thing and check out, what's available. But they have made efforts at all the parks to try to make them more accessible. And this Lilly grant is going to help with that effort too.
I think we need a Camping World grant. I really do.
We need to talk to them.
We need Marcus Lemonis on the phone and make some stuff happen. What other things you wanted to highlight, John, before we sign off?
Just appreciate people speaking to their legislators when they get a chance. If you meet them, anytime. You don't need to go to the State House. Just if you run into them or have a chance to talk to them for 5 minutes, talk about your favorite things that you like in the state parks and why we need to continue to invest. And I think that'll help us as much as anything.
What's the ask? When you go to them, just say, hey, thanks, I appreciate the park, and I'm excited it's there, and this is why I care about it.
And say support the budget and help us, be fully staffed and money for fixing up the parks. Yeah.
Yes, I would echo that. That's the bottom line. I really believe that most legislators try to represent their constituents as far as what their main interests are. You may have disagreements with how your legislator votes on a certain thing, but for the most part, they are trying to do that. It's important that they hear from their constituents what's important to them.
There's 150 legislators. You're not going to generally find one that isn't in favor of parks, right?
Right.
It's an easy issue that most all of us can agree that we like clean outdoor spaces that are accessible, and it's something that as we get politically divided on other issues, this is one where we can come together and say, we really like this.
Historically, it has been the one uniter, and I think still is one of the few uniters anymore. Because like you say, all political people like them. It's a question of how much finances to support them with. And that's what they they still need, they're not as easy to run as most people think. There's things that you don't think about, like those trees falling that have to be cut up. There's these over 700 miles of trails on state parks that, if you think about, each one may not cost that much, but we've been evaluating some of the trails as volunteers for state parks to try to help them decide what some of their worst problems are, because you've got different property managers that all want their, talking about their problems. Well, this is kind of an independent set of eyes to look at different properties. And so we're going out to some of these, and some of them are, okay, they're bad, but we've seen worse elsewhere. And then others, like, my gosh, this is horrible. My personal favorite is a trail at or a wood structure at Shade State Park. I'll go ahead and say where it was. That is literally, there's a steel cable going into the ground to keep it from falling over. We need to replace that structure, but they don't have money for it.
That makes sense. I had something else for John, but I've lost it. It was there, and the thought just fell out. Chase, that's the way it goes. Anything else from you, Mr. Zach?
Two things. At least two things. The thing, because I was trying to write it down earlier, my pen wasn't working. Congratulations to Mary, my cousin from the BI Body Company. She won, so she got certified as like a female women in enterprise through a program through the WNBA and the Indiana Fever. She sells her soap, and if you're at the state fair, which opens up tomorrow, her stuff's going to be in the Homegrown Indiana. She makes soaps and like bath bombs and stuff like that. And then tomorrow night is Broad Street Cruise Night, and they're doing the bike giveaway. And I've seen several of the bikes that Pointer Brothers built. We have a local bike shop that's gotten sponsors from local businesses and built custom bikes themed to those businesses, and they give them up. They give a bunch of bikes away to kids. And they do it real nice. So like nice bikes, and they have a sponsor for giving away helmets, which I think is Atlas Collections. And it's been turned into a big deal. Like they've had hundreds of bikes before. I think they pared it down a little bit because it's just these like really nice bikes that Pointer Brothers have built. So hope people head down to there. And then I'm also going camping because the weather is fantastic this weekend. Get outside. The high today, I think it hit 71 degrees, which is that's been the low for most of the last month. So
I only sweat a little bit at work tonight.
Yeah, it's because it was misting. But I like to thank these guys for coming out, because like I'm a huge fan. Like every time you mention a state park, I think of like something like memories, because I've hit. We don't have a pattern to how we travel to state parks, but just kind of like in the summer, we try and pull the trigger and hit the farther ones away. And then we found like some of the more obscure properties, like we are huge Starve Hollow fans. That's a park that I don't think anybody knew about till like 5 years ago. And now people have figured out that like it's a killer park.
It's like
to go to.
visiting South Dakota and Indiana. The pine trees, and it's one of the prettiest spots in the state.
And it's one of those ones where like there's electric and a full hookup. You can go do that kind of thing almost any state park, but the waterfront sites and that part of the campground is unlike anything else you'll find in another state park property. And we get waterfront, we roll the kayaks, and we do it in November, and sometimes it's been 75 degrees and we've gotten a sunburn. You could see some cypress trees and some lily pads. So like go visit the state parks, because they all have their own thing to go see. Like he mentioned Spring Mill, the village is fantastic. And then you can go roll towards the gate and hit the Gus Pearson Memorial, which it's small, but it's awesome. It's fun to go see and check that stuff out. So yeah, they all have Brown County, and some of them I associate the parks are just their own thing. I'm a pretty big fan of going into a park and not leaving for the entire weekend. But then some of them you go to Madison, you go into Madison if you're at Clifty Falls or Paintown, you can drop into Nashville, or you can go to Bloomington. And then we've gone into Lafayette when we're at Prophetstown, eating the Triple X, the diner. So like they're a great spot to like go camp and then take a day and like just roam around and find stuff to go do in the neighborhood, in the towns nearby. And so that's one reason why investment in them is so important, is because they are a hub for people to go stay and then explore the areas, whether it's from the inn or the campground.
And that was what I was going to ask, John. I figured that in your tourism side of your life, that there has to be a metric in place that says, hey, this is the head count or the people that you bring into Madison County or Henry County when folks come. People go down to Liberty and they stay at Whitewater State Park. The businesses and the locals that benefit from those being there, it's a big deal for the tourism, and I think it could be even larger.
Absolutely. I don't know what dollar figure would be accurate now, but let's say, a family there for 3 days and they go to town and spend money, they're going to spend a few $100s. And so it's a big boost to the local tenants.
Visit the local restaurants, hit the Walmart, they'll hit the farmer's market, whatever's going on.
If you're camping for a week, you will not remember everything that you need that week, and you will have to go to the nearby town to buy something.
That's right.
Oh, and some of those are treasures too. The IGA in Liberty, Indiana is amazing. Like, even those, you get to visit some of the small towns because a lot of the parks are kind of near smaller towns. Some are near bigger towns, but like Liberty's a great little town. Marshall, or is it no? What's the one near Spring Mill? I just forgot my brain. Mitchell. So yeah, some of them you look in these little towns, and the little towns are awesome. Like, go find a diner or a grocery store that's old school, and like they have a bakery like back in the day.
There's a gangster themed pizza place just south of Spring Mill. What's the town just south of Mitchell?
Paoli?
No, not that far south.
Oh.
Orleans, right in Orleans on the there's a little town square and there's a pizza shop.
Yeah,
love it. Fantastic spot.
Some of these have some good local craft brewers there too, and brew pubs. So
we've been. There's one in near Chain of Lakes that Chase and I spent a good amount of time one weekend hanging out right on I think it's Albion. Is it Albion? Is the Chain of Lakes town?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, they're interested. They're all I haven't ever had a bad experience at a state park, and they're all like they all have their own. Some of them it's really cool because they're kind of like Shades is like it's a vibe. It's kind of a hiker's vibe. It's kind of chill. Chain of Lakes Campground is like a town. That is a town that assembles on the weekend. There's like a big beach volleyball area in the middle, big sand area where the kids are playing, and it's cool to see like this community's kind of build up. Kids get to make friends, whatever, and then Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning they'll kind of scatter around.
I don't care for Mounds or SRA. I don't know. If I throw shade at somebody, I'm going to give it to them.
You're a Quaker Town.
I'm a Quaker Town guy. I like the west side of the lake. It's quieter. Mounds is just full of boat people. They're crazy. They're crazy folks over there, Chase. I like my quiet side of Road.
One we haven't mentioned a whole lot, and it's actually one of the most amazing ones in the system is Indiana Dunes State Park.
Yep.
And it's interesting. You've got the dunes. If you go on the website, if you're particularly for another state and you're looking at that area, they often get the state park and the national park mixed up. I've seen pictures labeled national park, and I look at it and I know that's a state park.
That's in the state park system.
Well, we actually got there first, and we got the best property. So the state park is better than the national park, in my view.
They work in tandem. It's a lot easier to visit some of the national park sites than it is the state park, because the state park is so darn popular. I love that area too. It's a
sweet walk from their campground to the beach too. They have like a nice little trail
I think
from the campground to the beach.
It's the only state park with rail access, right?
Yeah.
You can catch the train right from there. Go all the way into Chicago. Watch the Bears lose.
It's crazy. I've never been to the dunes. I need to go. I got coworkers that go all the time. I just put it on your
what's interesting about that one. It's probably the most the biggest melting pot of groups of people there. Like last time I was there was a whole family that took up a whole row of the campground, and they were roasting lamb in the campground because they were having like a family reunion. There were 40 of them there, and you're like, this isn't normal. This isn't like what you run into when you're like at Summit Lake or whatever. But like you're so close to Chicago, you can, as a matter of fact, go at sunset, hike down to the beach, and go see Chicago because the sun sets over the back of Chicago, and you can see the skyline.
Dunes, the Dunes is its own biome. Like there's cactus growing there, man. Like it's a beautiful place.
There's cactus in southern Indiana too.
And in
it has the most plant diversity of any national park. The Dunes National Park has the best diversity of all the parks.
I want to say Harmony has pecans as well. Pecan trees? Yeah. Which I never thought we had that in Indiana.
Yeah.
Harmony does.
Pretty far.
Well, that's one of the amazing things about our state, really.
It's because it's in Wisconsin or it's in like Minnesota. I don't know. It's south, but it's like
almost in Kentucky.
Kentucky, it's so far south, and
it's south of half the population of Kentucky.
Yeah, it is. It is down there, man.
If you think about the diversity of habitats in our state, it's amazing, really. Where you have sand dunes on the north end, you got these cornfields in a lot of north, and then you got hills of southern Indiana, and you go down to swamps and Harmony and what's the nature preserve there? Twin Swamps, just west of there, but in that area. So it's just amazing the diversity of habitats in the state.
And fossil beds at Falls of the Ohio,
yes,
right?
There you go.
Got them all.
A little bit of everything.
Appreciate you guys so much for being here.
Okay. Well, we love coming and talking about parks.
Hopefully we've solved all of the issues, and next year everything gets mowed, and there's lifeguards everywhere, and
you're getting paper maps again.
If you have paper maps, and if it costs me $120 for the year, then damn it, let's pay it.
I never thought about the fallen trees.
Zach,
gosh, we
saw it go through a camper 3 sites from us.
We witnessed a camper get hit by a tree at Summit Lake, and nobody was hurt. Camper was not good, but everybody was fine. And so now, like, when we're in that campground, we're checking trees.
We're looking every time
because we were there in the fall. It's kind of hard to tell in the fall if the tree's alive or dead. So yes, we witnessed that. So yeah, I can only imagine, like, in some of those, because at the same time though, you want the trees.
Yeah.
I want to be in the shade. I'm a shade guy. I'm not the grassy guy. I'm a shade guy. So yeah, we want that. So yeah, but at the same time, oof.
No show next week, but we will be back with you. I think it's August 14th, 13th, 14th, whatever that is.
Moreland Fair next week, everybody.
Yeah, the Moreland
World's Fair.
They have Farmer Olympics this year. Look it up. Go sign up. It's a great thing. Put your team together. I'll be out of state. Can't do it. I think $25. There's like a $500 prize if you win the Moreland Farmer Olympics. So check it out. It is a great thing. We'll see you in 2 weeks.